You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
Happy Sunday morning, everybody. I'm Scott Couch. We've got great weather. Hopefully you've got a cup of coffee in your hand. I know it's 6:30 in the morning. I am the dog catcher. I've got 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and I'm trying to keep everybody, on their P's and Q's.
The shock collars work.
I know. See, you guys can't see those. But as we discuss issues that are important to you, both locally and on the state level, we'll leave the national stuff to other shows. They've got plenty of them for that. Let me introduce our guests, and we will wade in. Jasper Hendricks, Democratic strategist, also chair of the Metro Fair Board. He was traveling last week, not able to be with us. Glad to have you back. And I know you had a little health challenge. You look good, and I'm delighted that you're feeling well enough to be with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to.
Next to him is Scotty Hughes, who is a journalist and also senior fellow at Frontiers of Freedom. I always want to say Frontiers for Freedom, but it's Frontiers of Freedom.
As long as it has freedom in it, that's all we care about as Republicans.
Exactly right. Over here, Steve Gill, who's in a very unusual spot. Normally, when Steve's on this show, he is on my left every time. Tonight or this morning, he is on my right.
Took your spot.
That's right. Steve on the right. That's a good thing.
Steve on the right. You're normally on the right side. See?
You ought to have that as like your Twitter handle. Steve
on the right.
But Steve's an attorney. He's also a publisher of TriStar Daily, a conservative news site that I check on the daily. Also a television and radio host. And right next to him is Brian Cordova, who has the power to anoint you a Democrat in the state of Tennessee. He's the executive director of the Tennessee Democratic Party. If you want a card...
That is an executive committee decision and not chair decision. Not me.
I hope your all's bona fide stuff is not as complicated as ours.
There's only 5 of them that have to apply for it, so it kind of works.
Listen, if we can't have a little fun on the way in, I don't know when we can. Guys, I want to discuss something, and I was telling you on the off the air as we were preparing to come in here. This first topic is a bit of a civics lesson. A couple days ago, State Senator Randy McNally of Oak Ridge, who has been the Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee, second in line of succession to the governor since 2017. He's had this job. Announced, I'm not running for re-election. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's been in the legislature since I was 10, and I'm in my 60s, I'm just saying, so he's been up there for a couple of minutes, and so it's going to create an opportunity for new leadership in the Senate. And guys, let's talk about this. I've heard, Steve will talk with you, I've heard State Senator Jack Johnson's name mentioned. I've heard, Bo Watson, Paul Bailey had
Brent
been
Taylor
mentioned.
in Memphis.
Yes, and I think you heard somebody else might be interested.
Well, there's going to be a scramble for the lieutenant governor spot, and then with Jack Johnson, if he tries to move up, then it may open his majority leader spot. So you're going to have kind of a revolving door of some competition. And then for Randy McNally's seat, and he's 82, he's been in since like 1978.
Yeah.
I joked with him yesterday, he's a pharmacist by background. I said, you've done pretty good for a drug dealer. But
did he respond to that?
Yes, he did. He laughed. But you've got Stacey Campfield, who's a former state representative, state senator. You've got a current state representative from over in Clinton, who was the police chief there. And then apparently there's a woman who's looking at running as well, who's a former fighter pilot who had looked at challenging for the congressional seat over there, challenging Tim Burchett. So, and the filing deadline is March 10th. So on both sides of the aisle, man, you got to move quick. You got to raise money, you got to get in, you got to get organized.
There's not a lot of time. And I'm letting the Republicans take the first bite at the apple for obvious reasons. This is a very important job. The leader, I mean, there's a lot of power with this position.
Extremely important, especially considering we are going to have a new governor going in at the same time almost as well. Let's also look at the fact that you're getting new blood, but you're also getting younger blood. One of the biggest criticisms right now is that you have both on the federal and the state level a lot older of a legislation, especially when it comes to leadership. Jack Johnson, Bo Watson, Paul Bailey, they're the next generation below, so at least we're getting a little bit of a younger generation.
Are you trying to say they're as older than me?
Well, no, they're your age. I'm trying not to, but I'm just saying they're not as old as Randy McNally has been. I think that's a welcome for the Republican Party that has been known for a long time as being the grand old man party.
There's no doubt.
So this is good.
And Jasper, you're very familiar with the legislature, and I read some really nice comments from Democrats within the Senate who appreciate, I guess, the way Randy McNally officiates the Senate.
He does. He's been very fair, and he's listened to both sides. He's been able to work across across the aisle with Democrats to get very important pieces of legislation, done, and for it to be a consensus, so that way it isn't just one party in one way, and he's been able to negotiate some very good deals. And yes, there will be a lot of changes next year with the new governor coming in. You're also going to have changes on the House side. You have Representative Faison, is leaving. He's the
also
leader.
in a leadership position.
Right, he's in a leadership position on the House side, so you're going to see some movement there. So it's going to be interesting. We may or may not. I think right now we have about at least 10 House members who may not be coming back, who are in the process of announcing that they're not coming back. So you're going to see there's going to be a lot of changes in the legislature next year.
And change may be a good thing. And Brian, and not to leave you last, but I know the Democratic Party has appreciated a little bit of a different treatment in the upper house than in the House of Representatives.
Sure. I mean, I think Senator Yarborough knocked it out of the park with his comments. I mean, I think Lieutenant Governor McNally, based on what Senator Yarborough said, led with a sense of compassion and understanding and an opportunity to try and find what Jasper was alluding to of consideration, consensus building, really. And he was a leader that we could understand and frankly, believe is going to be out for the best outcomes rather than what I fear might be coming down the pike. So I'm wishing him the best and hoping we don't get the worst.
It's interesting because he had been in the minority, and then maybe there's a lesson there. When you've been in the minority, maybe you're a little bit more conciliatory when you get the power. But in the Senate right now, it's still 27-6, super majority from Republicans.
Well, we're going to work on that this year, but
Good luck with that.
And on that happy note, I'm going to take a commercial break, but we've got a lot to discuss, and we'll be right back on Nashville in Focus.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
On Friday afternoon, several members of Metro Council held a news conference on the steps of the courthouse to celebrate really a victory in a lawsuit against the state of Tennessee and the Republican majority over a law that would have threatened city and county leaders with jail time if they supported laws or ordinances, if you would, that were sympathetic to illegal minority communities. And our Attorney General, Jonathan Skrmetti, during the lawsuit, essentially said, look, after reviewing the legalities of this, I cannot defend this law because it's simply unconstitutional. And Brian, since you went last time, I'll start with you over here. It's a victory for Democrats, and my sense is that the Republicans are not going to back up off of you on this front.
Look, I think it's certainly a win for Democrats, but ultimately it's a win for Tennessee. It's a win for the Constitution. It's a win for the rule of law, frankly. This just highlights the fact that the legislature isn't interested in passing laws that are going to put food on tables, keep roofs over heads. They're focused on things that are going to essentially, they're passing lawsuits, not laws. And that's something that, I'm thrilled that this law isn't going to happen. And I think it's an opportunity for, hopefully the Republican Party to reimagine what they're doing and think through what's going to come.
Now, for the record, it's still on the books. It's just not going to be enforced. And we should tell people, just so you understand, $61,200 of your tax dollars are also going to go to the other side to pay their attorneys. And I think Zulfat Sawara, who was among the plaintiffs on this lawsuit, said, this is a victory.
Well, it's a victory. And first I want to start by saying that no one wants anyone to be here with a sort of illegal status. What people want is for a pathway to citizenship, a legal pathway to citizenship, or a legal way that people are here. So we have to address a couple of things. We need to add more judges in courts to be able to adjudicate cases. We need to be able to also, provide for education, for some of the children that are here, that, through no fault of their own, because they're under protective status because of what's going on in their particular countries that they're citizens of, and then we need to fix what's happening over in those countries so that those people can go back, at a particular point. Now, what this law is, and we knew that this was going to be against. We knew, but the legislature passed it based off of Gino Bulso, saying in his interpretation of the Supreme Court case, from back in 1982, I believe it was, and it was completely wrong. And they knew that this was what he was saying was completely false, but they passed this legislation anyway.
Well, there's another one dealing with the 14th Amendment right now.
Yes, but what this does is it gives the Attorney General the ability to say, I need more lawyers. And look at his budget. Look at the budget and how that budget has grown, not just for internal lawyers, but to be able to pay outside attorneys that are making 2 and 3 times as much as the state employees.
I'm trying to get Steve on that list.
So
get some of that legal work.
Keep it up.
So that's what we need to take a look at that, and like Brian was saying, like it seems like we're passing, laws.
I think he said they're passing lawsuits, not laws.
Yeah, there's lawsuits, right?
Well,
yeah.
I think this is what happens when you take talking points and make a law out of talking points. And right now, it's an emotionally charged issue. The illegal immigration debate is working very well for Republicans, I feel like, especially even here in Tennessee. But what they did is they crafted a law off of the talking points without actually putting really thought into it. They just went with the emotions of it. There's some very smart people up on that hill, some of them that have law backgrounds. They need to have louder voices in the room when crafting laws. So this doesn't turn out to be an embarrassment. So this doesn't come back and bite us. And they actually create legislation that is not only legal, but productive and as well satisfies what I think the majority of Tennesseans want when it comes to immigration law.
The House Speaker was among the sponsors or co-sponsors on that bill, William Lamberth. He's a smart lawyer. Your thoughts? I mean, you think they knew this was coming all along?
I think they did. I think the Republicans aren't trying to pass lawsuits. I think what happens is anybody can file a bill and then it gets momentum on its own, and they don't want to be the guy saying no.
Yeah.
But the idea that you could punish council members and others for
voting
their
Their
conscience,
conscience.
would look to me to be ridiculous. And I would just say we've got the best Attorney General in the United States. Jonathan Skrmetti is fair. He knows the law, and the fact that he said, "Look, I'm not going to play in this
But
realm."
he had the opportunity to stop it and tell them that we cannot do this, and he chose not to. He wanted this.
Don't they have to ask him, though?
So no, you get a legal opinion. We've asked for legal opinions. There are legal opinions. It was asked of him, to make a legal opinion and say that this is
Did he simply not render one
He
at
just
the time?
didn't do it. He didn't do it.
But from the PR, nobody wants to
recall that.
vote against immigration right now. Nobody wants to say, no, I'm against on the other side if you're a Republican, to your point, Steve. And that's what this
Well,
is
it
at that
becomes
stage.
something they beat you with in the campaign trail. And the Republicans would do, the Democrats would do the same thing if there was another issue.
Well, and
that you could,
Skrmetti's team, as you said, doesn't have a huge number of lawyers
Right.
to go through every piece of legislation that gets filed. If it passes, then you deal with it. I think he relatively quickly said, okay, I'm not going to die on this hill, which was the right
lawsuit,
solution.
it only took a few months. Normally, a case like this, it could take over a year to get to court. In a matter of months, it was challenged. They got together on it. He said, I'm not going to defend.
It was because they cited a Supreme Court case that actually said that you cannot punish.
Do that.
It's like
for doing your job. I can't punish you for voting
for
on
doing your
things that come
job,
for
right?
you.
And Republicans,
Like it or not like it, when the Supreme speak, it's kind of like those EF names. You ought to listen.
and Republicans are going to have to realize that you do it one way, there's a chance in the future.
It gave
could
us a
change.
segment here, and I've got to hit a break, and then we'll do another one. We will be right back. You're watching Nashville in Focus.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
I always appreciate when the legislature is in session because it makes it much easier for me to create an agenda for this program. And the next thing I want us to take up is a tunneling bill. Johnny Garrett, who's running for Congress, but he's a state rep from Goodlettsville, he's one of the co-sponsors on this. House Bill 2450, Senate Bill 2205. It would create a tunneling authority which would allow the state, officially authority over any kind of tunneling. And the boring company has, I think they're 2 or 3 feet in, so it started. Your thoughts on this? Big deal or no big deal?
So I think it is a big deal. I think he's trying to get ahead. He's trying to do some preparation for what's to come. I will say this, maybe I still have PTSD of not having electricity for 8 days, but the last car I'm going to go buy right now is a Tesla. I'm sorry. So it's just the timing of this, because this is going to be majorly focused on Tesla cars being able to do. I don't know at this moment in Tennessee there's much of a demand. They might just have an empty tunnel for what I see.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we're cutting back on rebates and incentives to get electric vehicles, but you're building a tunnel for electric vehicles. it seems like, I don't know. It's one of those things that we're doing things and then we're going to think about, the results later. And
of course, you're Elon Musk and you own the cars, so I'm going to find some place to plug them in so we can run them down the tunnel and make money off the rides,
Yeah, but how do you? But it'll be very few. And then they're saying now. I think also it first started with the tunnel from downtown to the airport. Now they're talking about going from West End to the river.
And they'd like for a hole to come out over by the football stadium too. I heard
yes,
some talk about that
and
the other day.
but it'll be curious to see. I know that they're in the legislation is asked for 11-member board. I'll be interested to see if that composition stays that way. If the legislation makes it, to the end and to the governor's desk, will these be the folks that will make up this? Because I don't think you have any room for any experts, because Tennessee is a very different land than most places that they have done this tunnel or tried to do this tunnel.
Very rocky
so,
here.
Yeah.
Everything I've read indicates this is pretty good land to tunnel through. Now, Brian, I also heard that the boring company, TBC, would like to build a tunnel to Chattanooga, a tunnel to Knoxville, and a tunnel to Memphis.
I mean,
and this authority would be over any tunnels they wanted to put anywhere, or anybody else.
I've been skeptical of this, I guess, Tennessee big dig. I'm very concerned about the safety that goes into it. I'm very concerned about the way that it's been unrolled and unpackaged. And I can't imagine if this is how they treated Nashville, the center of the state capital, what are they going to do to cities like Knoxville, Chattanooga, Memphis? How are they going to engage local officials? And I think that's something that we're glossing over right now. That's
the whole thing. The state wants to Bigfoot all of it,
and that's a big concern and a red flag for just about everybody in the state, I would say.
So are we abandoning Amtrak? Well, no one's talking about trains. We don't even have a train. First of all, you can't even get a nonstop flight from Nashville to Knoxville, or now they have, I think, one from Nashville to
Memphis. Before I got to take a break.
Yeah, I would agree with the skepticism that Brian has, and you mentioned the big dig. I think in Boston, it like 20 years and 10 times the cost. It was a disaster. We're looking in California.
But at least there's no state money. Remember that? No state money involved.
Well, this board, it is. It's actually going to cost money.
I think there's a $5 million proposed budget, but I mean the actual digging of the tunnel.
Always cost more, and they always find their way into our pockets at some point.
No, you're right.
I like creativity. I like innovation. I'd rather see monorails than these digs. And as you mentioned, you go down to Rutherford County, this far under the dirt, you are in solid rock. There's going to be blasting.
I know it's in Wilson County. I don't think you have to go that far.
Yeah.
No. I've got to squeeze in a commercial break. You're watching Nashville in Focus, and we will be right back.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
In a final segment, I want to talk about, an impending political battle. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, I had to look down to make sure I got the verbiage just right. It's targeting the 5th District race. That's Andy Ogle's seat, and Chaz Mulder, who is the mayor of Columbia, who defeated a Republican incumbent to get it, is their person. Jasper, are you surprised that even though the primary hasn't happened, there's another Democrat, Mike Cortez from the council, he's in this thing, and there may be others, but this committee's already said Mulder's our guy.
I think it was a mistake. I think they should have, if anything, they should have waited. I think they need to focus on building a ground game in the 5th Congressional District, no matter who the candidate is. And there are other candidates, and the filing deadline hasn't even happened. So just say for a fluke that something happens and he messes up his paperwork and he doesn't even get on the ballot. You've already said that this is our candidate, So I think they should not have done this.
I like it when you tell me what you really think. Now, it's going to be harder for the state's, one of the state's directors.
Political correctness. Here we go. Let's get the diplomatic answer.
They waited? Because, all these Democratic candidates are your people. They all deserve a fair shot.
Look, I'm just ecstatic that we have so many great candidates running right now. And frankly, the fact that the DCCC is taking an interest in Tennessee just shows the type of state that this White House is in.
They think Andy Ogles is vulnerable.
You have two people who are outraising him on the Democratic side in the state of Tennessee. That's a red flag for any campaign committee, any sort of politician, politico out there, any strategist. And again, it's exciting to see great candidates sort of throw their hat into the ring and say, this is the vision that we see for what Tennessee could be. This is what we want to be able to do for the people of Tennessee, and start getting back to doing the business of the people rather than creating more scandal or creating more mishaps or creating more just, news cycles where we're not actually doing anything to benefit Tennesseans. And focusing in on,
but it isn't hard
to your point, though. There's a good caliber of people gunning for Andy, but on both sides.
Yeah, and I think the question I would have, kind of like you, is there's only about 20 seats in the U.S. House nationally that are within a narrow percentage that are within you can grab, and they've made this one of their top 10 picks, and this is a plus 8 to 10 Republican district. Right. So I want y'all to spend money on races like this and give us a better opportunity other places. I think Chaz is vulnerable because if I'm the Republicans, and I am one, I'd be focusing on, did he stand up for the 10-year-old girl that was hit by a tractor trailer driving rig when the Democrats stayed seated during the State of the Union? Did he stand up and applaud the mother of the Ukrainian girl killed on a train in
well, we don't know because he was at home.
Did he stand up? I mean, would he have stood up in that crowd and balked everybody on the Democratic side when the president said you either stand with Americans or with illegals? What would Chaz have done?
No, we wouldn't talk about standing with illegals and standing with, are we going to?
Oh, no, this is fine. This is great for me. I'm all for this. So keep going, guys.
Are we going to say that the current First Lady of the United States, she was an illegal immigrant when she got here?
She was not illegal.
She got here.
She was on a work visa.
What type of visa? An Einstein visa. How did that happen?
She was a supermodel and work visa.
How did that happen? So we want to talk about that. So if the president would have talked about unifying, the country, then it would. I know she's not now, but
she wasn't when she came over.
So if
she's definitely not now.
If the president would have talked about unifying the people of this country, then yes, Democrats would have stood up. But he used that moment to be divisive.
It's not unified.
He used it to be divisive.
Guys, I hate to, but I'm flat out of time, and I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm going to keep these guys apart off camera. That's our time. I'll see you next week on Nashville in Focus.